the talks are going to take you through his experiences and literary concepts. In talk with him, we have Mandira Sen, who's known to all of us, running Shree and Cement, the two magazines that are woman-oriented and again, she's an icon of her own. So wish you a wonderful afternoon. Enjoy the talk and have a great evening. Thank you.
There's so much about David Davidar that we need to know before we actually go to these books. And I'm going to ask him to tell us a little bit about himself, how he started his trajectory to becoming a publisher and a writer, because it is a very varied and exciting trajectory. Right from growing up near Nagercoil, am I right? And then moving on as an adult to Bombay, and then Delhi, and in between all over the world. And one of his books, the first one, The House of Blue Mangoes, perhaps tells you a little bit about the panoramic sweep. It starts with in 1899 and ends in 47, and it's very much David's background. So we're going to ask him to tell us a little bit about his life.
Well, I can give you the short form, which is about 2 sentences, but I'll just mention very briefly how I got into publishing. I was a journalist in Bombay in the 80s, and I worked with some very fine editors. My first employer was a man called Rajmohan Gandhi, who was Mahatma Gandhi's grandson, and he started a magazine called Himmat, which was in response to the emergency and things like that. He was fighting for what he believed in. And I was 19 years old, and I'd done a degree in botany because my father's a tea planter, and I thought I might be a tea planter, but I was always entranced by writing literature and so on. So when Rajmohan, I interviewed with him, and he said, come and join our magazine. I joined his magazine, and that's how I became a journalist. I worked with him for a while, then his magazine shut down, and then I worked with an even, not more extraordinary, as extraordinary man called Davidarwas, who was possibly our greatest English language poet, of the 20th century, in my opinion, especially as a lyric poet. As a man, he was a mess. Drank too much, chased women. All of that fueled his poems. He was an extraordinary. So on the one hand, you had this.
Him at first hand.
Yeah, you had this ascetic Rajmohan who was almost saintly, and then you had this. And then you had this genius. So it was very interesting to my first 2 bosses before I was sort of 22.
How old would Dom have been then?
He was 20 years old.
Oh.
But he treated me like a kind of younger brother, and taught me how to train, taught me how to so that was Davidarwas. And then my third job was with another magazine which didn't last. It was run by this very bright fellow called Nadu. Worked with India Today and a bunch of other things. And then I worked there for.
It was called Gentleman.
Yeah, it was called Gentleman. It was modeled on Esquire, and it was a kind of features magazine. Then after 2 years there, I got bored, and a colleague of mine said, "Look, you should go and do this course in America." So this was a course in Cambridge. So I went off and did this thing for a few months, and
it's a very demanding course. It's the Harvard University's course on publishing, isn't it? Run by the then Radcliffe College unit, which is since merged with.
Now it's moved to Columbia, but it is a very. Anyone who wants to get into publishing, I'd recommend that you do it. It's very prestigious. Well, I didn't know Raju was here, but anyway. After that, at that course, there was a fellow called Peter Mayer, who was at that point the chairman of Penguin Books, the global Penguin. And because I was an Indian artist, he said, look, would you like to go back to India? And, we're thinking of setting up a company there.
Weren't you at the Harvard Business School too?
So,
There's some legend,
No,
story
I
that
was-
you met him driving him somewhere.
yeah, I was driving him from Cambridge to Boston Airport. And he said, look, do you want a job? So I said, sure, you know what I mean? That's how I started. I was 25 years old. And it was quite a remarkable kind of coincidence. And so I came back to Delhi, which is he had now been to. We rented a 2-bedroom flat. And my only colleague was Khushwant Singh, who was going to be the advisor. So there was me, there was Khushwant Singh, there was a peon, and there was my secretary. And that was Penguin. Today it's the largest company.
Didn't Penguin India have a kind of link to Calcutta? Weren't the
Yes.
Sikh circus part of
Yes, I'm so sorry. So it was a joint venture when it started out. It was AVP, and Avik he was an extraordinary guy. I mean, I worked for Avik, obviously he was not my boss, I had some other boss in England. In 15 years, I think I was thinking that he never once told me what to do. If I wanted money, he gave me money. If I wanted, that is the perfect kind of boss. Which is why he's such a great, I think, supporter of the arts. I've heard stories about Avi. He so nurtured creativity that he would put up with virtually anything, with his editors, with whether it was with Desh magazine, or whether
the poets?
yeah, exactly. So he's a great guy. So yes, there was AVP and there's Penguin, and I did that for about 15 years.
And you organized or you supervised the merger with a very famous publisher with gorgeous illustrated books called DK, didn't you?
Yeah, that was.
They're wonderful books.
One has ups and downs. That was one of the down phases of my life. I'll tell you why. Because DK was this vast, bloated organization in India. Because there was a fellow called Peter Kindersley who founded DK. And he had this mad idea that India was going to be the engine that drove DK. So he hired somebody I knew very well, a fellow called Vikram Grewal, to set up DK. And he just said they couldn't go forth and multiply. So he hired dozens upon dozens of people.
But Peter Kindersley obviously thought big because he came to inaugurate the office of an elephant, didn't he?
Yeah, that was part of it. And then he did his mistake was he bought George Lucas, Star Wars. He bought the franchise to produce books, and they tanked. The problem with publishing is it's a very business. So you have to know how much money to pay. You have to know how much to print. Not too much, not too little, etc. So then Pearson was the company came along and bought DK. And we were told that all the CEOs in various parts of the world were told to integrate it into your companies. So I remember I had the most trouble because India was the biggest, and I remember walking into this DK office. There were 200 people there. And I had to find something. So first time in my life I had to do that. Yeah, it is very painful. And I remember I came to Calcutta. I think I was staying in Georgia. I was staying in Kolkata because there was a bunch of Naga ladies. Okay, at that time there was a civil war going on in Nagaland, and this was the only job they had, which was selling DK encyclopedia. And if I stopped it, because I had to stop it because every encyclopedia that was sold at a loss because of the discount structure. So that's the first time in my life I actually had death threats. They said, if you stop it, we will kill you. So I said I'll go to the office and I'll sort of have a conversation. They said, are you mad? They'll kidnap you and they'll shoot you. You know what I mean? So they said, go to Calcutta, ask them to come to Calcutta and have the conversation. It wasn't Naga so much as the husband of one of these guys, who was a Punjabi fellow, who was putting them up to it. He wanted a big. So I took one side and I said, look, buddy, you might think that you're a big guy. We can also be as tough as you can. So take what we're offering. Let's all go away quietly.
You didn't offer him a counter-death threat.
I mean, there were certain things the company would support me on, not going and killing people. Anyway, so that was decay. And, it a lot about corporate life, which was not simply, you go into your office and attend a board meeting. It was, how do you leave with activities and so on.
It's all fed into this novel, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Is there a particular person who influenced you as you started publishing?
Well, I had three gurus. My first was Rajiv Gandhi in where journalism is concerned. Dom, where creative writing is concerned, and Peter Mayer where publishing is concerned. I don't think any person could have asked for three better titles to sort of tutor you. I mean, this was these weren't ordinary people. They were world class. And the more one is a professional, the more one is in management, you realize how idiotic people can be. It doesn't mean that if you're an MD or a CEO or a kind of promoter or whatever that you're particularly bright. But these guys.
And the kind of mentoring you see from them.
These people were individuals in their own right. It was not because of the company they belonged to or the whatever. They were giants in their own field. So I was very privileged.
And after the Penguin experience, you decided to do something totally different from that gigantic company with its you were in Canada for a while.
In Canada for a while.
Then you decided you want to do something much at a much more intimate scale.
I mean that was a bit of a rude awakening. And after that, I just thought to myself, now I can sort of go off and sort of plant my garden in the mountains, or I can sort of do something that I really want to do. And we were talking about how wasteful publishing can be, especially if you're a very large company, where you see the reason publishing is an inexact business is because, and Raju will tell this out as well, is because you take lots and lots of books and throw them at the wall, and hope one or two of them stick. Because there is nothing that tells you about a book that this is the book that people are going to buy. Am I right? Yes. You have no idea, especially with fiction is concerned.
Yes.
Why do people buy one book? I mean, you're assuming that it's a good book. Yes. Let's leave out all the bad.
For instance, your present company, Alif, which published Jerry Pinto's M and the Big Home. This is a book people would have been scared to sign. It's actually about mental illness. It's beautifully done. People would have thought, are others going to read it? But my goodness, it's created a storm in India. It won the Hindu Best Book Prize in 2013. And it's done a storm in the UK. It's in the windows of all the big, huge chain bookshops. So you really can't tell. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
No, you can't tell. So the reason we started Alif and the reason I started with Rupa was because I felt that after a long, long time, India was starting to do stuff for ourselves rather than being run by people outside. You know what I mean?
That's a very important,
for
change.
Much of my life, and because my father also worked for a British company and so on, our agenda was set elsewhere. We prided ourselves on the English we spoke. We prided ourselves on our accents. We prided ourselves on a number of things.
We knew the country.
Yeah, exactly. We knew which fork to use. We knew how to wield a handkerchief, whatever. I mean, the point was, yes, you should speak English properly. I don't mean that you should use the language inexactly, but if you say have your life ruled from outside, it doesn't make much sense. I mean, how much of us know enough about our own country? So I just felt, about Alif is about 4 years old. Around 2010, when I was looking around the scene, I said things have changed dramatically. In 1985, when Penguin India was started, the bestseller list was ruled by books from England and America. Today, the top 10 books are probably Indian. Of varying degrees of quality. I'm not saying they're great. I'm saying there's a long way to go. But I just felt that this company, and that's why I was very grateful for the support of the Rupa people, because they felt that this was something they wanted to support. We said, we're going to do about 20, 30 books a year, and at least half of them have to be good. And the reason I say quite forthrightly that at least half of them have to be good is because I know that the large companies, only 20% are any good. 80% are there just as fillers, because you have to make your budget, you have to turn over X crores, next year you have to turn over X plus 10%, etc.
And very large corporations need that volume because they have to get that income.
Yeah, because they have to pay for their overhead, etc., etc.
So the amount of salaries they have to dish out is enormous.
Yeah. So and I'm very pleased with the way things are working out, because people come to me because they want to write about stuff that are really relevant, and I spend most of my time turning down books now, which gives me great satisfaction, because I don't have to publish 200 books. I have to publish 30. So 1 in 10 books gets picked up, and I have the top writers in the world. I've turned down Booker Prize winners. I've turned down, because I felt some other publisher would publish them better, and so on and so forth. So this is what I want to do at this point.
Prizes are fallible, but I'm proud to tell you that my cousin is the only one in the Booker long list.
Okay.
Oh, I'm not sure if she get it, but yes, prizes are fallible, and in fact, I can relate to everything that David is saying, because as an independent, we've done very high quality books, and we just don't do something if it's not up to it. We try and work with the author to rework, but sometimes it doesn't happen. So we are very, very selective, and we are proud of what we do. Often it doesn't get distributed much. Here, David should tell you a little bit about the clever way he has linked up with Rupa, so that he has this vast distribution network. Right?
Yeah.
Then you go.
Yeah. Okay. So in 2010, when I said I want to do something in partnership, so I had something like 6 suitors, and they included multinationals, and then Rupa was talking to me about, Acha, why don't you come and run our company? And I said, no, I don't want to do that. So my wife said, so you don't want to run anything anymore. I said, I'm not interested in running a large company. I've done that for most of my life. So she said, ask them if they want to promote. So I asked the question, and as Mr. Burman will tell you, they're very hard negotiators. So R.K. Mehra and Katish Mehra and I sat down and had a, but it's worked, fingers crossed, really well. We have something like 1 minor disagreement a year, which is better than most marriages, I can tell you. So it works well. So I'm very grateful to them, because the most important thing about publishing is not your 5 crores or 10 crores that you can get. You put your head out of the window, something. It's distribution and collections and marketing. Without that, you can forget about it.
Rupa's great history, I think the grandfather must be mentioned, the great D.K. Mehra, who actually had Sir William Collins visit him.
Indeed.
And from that time onward, which would be, which decade? From the 30s, 40s?
36. We turned 80 years.
Yeah,
that's
so
great.
from that time, they've been doing this high-powered distribution, so you're in very good.
No, they're fantastic. Fantastic. Brilliant. And the Rupa list again is expanding. Okay, we should spend 1 minute on this Rupa turning 80. I read a piece in Fortune or Forbes or something, which said very, very few companies actually managed to make it to the 100th century mark. Globally. Some of the biggest companies in the world, steel companies, hotel companies, they either merge, they either restructure. It is very tough to last that long. All the biggest names in publishing don't exist in their original form. They've restructured, Rupa has managed. and the only company to my knowledge, which has done it anywhere in the world of any consequence is Faber. They're about 83 years old. But Faber is not in the dominant position that Rupa is in India. So it's quite remarkable.
Isn't Faber supported by somebody big now?
No, they're independent, but they're independent. They're part of an alliance, but they're not owned by anyone. But they're not the number one or number two. Rupa is the second largest company by publishing revenues in the country today in trade. So it's a remarkable achievement.
And it was started in Kolkata.
Of course. Where else?
We must talk about his books because actually the other part of it is that he's a writer. And the first book, The House of Blue Mangoes, was it 2002?
Yeah.
And it's a massive book. It's in a kind of Tolstoyan scale. And when you get it in your hands, you think, oh my God, how am I going to read it? Because I've had to read them all this week. If it started, you get quite riveted. It's a wonderful story of a community we know very little about. These are Christians of near Nagercoil, is it?
The southern tip of it.
Yeah, and although things like caste do rear the head, and this is South India, and it's going through turmoil, and it's before Periyar, but you have someone called Ithaca who doesn't feel here. But it's a wonderful story of Christians, of their Hindu neighbors, of a Christian priest, and then it goes on to 3 generations of the family, starting with Solomon, right? What was his full name?
Solomon.
Adanar.
Solomon Doreyandavar.
Yeah.
That's his caste name.
Pronunciation. And Solomon is a kind of patriarch, old-fashioned person. I got a bit, I was sort of displeased when he whacked his wife for bringing him the coffee late, or it wasn't her fault, something like that. But then you have to keep at it. We know what Indian men are like. And you go on and on. And then there's this huge idea he had, right? He wanted his clan to be controlling, and then they run into problems with this Maruda clan, and they actually have a battle on the beach, and they kill each other, and they kill the priest too. And then it moves on in a much more sophisticated form to the second generation, third generation. Second generation produces a great doctor. And the third generation has someone who's broken away and gone and tried to become a diplomat. And it ends in 47. In between you have nationalism, you have terrorism, you have real people like Bipin Pal mentioned. You have all kinds of things going on. So I think it might be interesting for you to have him read a little bit from this, just a few lines, so that you get the atmosphere of his writing, right?
Okay, I'll read very little because I don't want to bore you. That's all right.
The pages. Wait, I have them here. What are we going to
We're good. So this is how the book begins, and I wanted to read the first paragraph because I wanted to give a sense of where the book takes place. And it takes place, like I say, in this very south of India, which is a very beautiful part of the country, but very different from other parts of the country. So it opens in spring 1899. As the ordinary violence of dawn sweeps across the lower Coromandel coast, a sprawling village comes into view. The turbulent sky accepted, everything about it is tranquil. Away to the west, a great headland, thickly maned with coconut palms, juts into the sea, partially enclosing a deserted beach on which long, slow swells, clear and smooth as glass, break with scarcely a sound. Beyond the beach, the waters of an estuary reflect the rage of color overhead. This is where the Chavatar, the country's southernmost river, and the source of the village's name, prepares for its final run to the sea. That's the opening paragraph.
That's how you get to relative. After this, you have some ghastly incidents like 2 young girls being preyed upon by a bunch of men, one gets raped, etc. This is how it all begins. What about going to see the the in-laws, future in-laws going to see Rachel?
The reason I write fiction is to try and work things out for myself. We live in a very complicated time, exceptionally complicated. You can either accept everything that people tell you and just follow it blindly, or you try and work things out. And I use my fiction to work things out. So this is about arranged marriages. At the time the first third of the novel takes place, the marriages
At the
were.
time of the war, maybe? First World War?
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
Solomon's daughter.
No, it would be after the first one.
About the 1920s.
Yes. So there is this girl called Rachel, who's the second generation, who's actually.
Yeah, please.
That was one.
Yeah. So Rachel's mother is called Charity, and her husband has died, so she has to arrange this marriage. She has very few resources. She's not very wealthy, so she has to somehow make things happen, but she has to make things happen in a way that is acceptable to people. Anyhow, so they found the boy. The boy is called Ramdas, and so Ramdas and his family are going to visit the girl to see whether she's acceptable or not. Ramdas's mother and sisters resembled each other to a great degree, exceedingly short, but as in compensation, slim, fair, and pretty. As they came up the path to the front door, Charity, who was the girl's mother, thought to herself that they looked for all the world as if they were swarming along the ground rather than walking on it. She smiled and welcomed the ladies, offered them refreshments and gifts, and then Rachel was led in, beautiful and brave, dressed in her third best sari, a shimmering peacock blue kanjiva. Charity thought she looked exquisite, but the thought was immediately knocked off its perch by others. Was she a shade too dark? She was 20, would she be considered too old? Had she greeted her sisters-in-law to be, if the marriage was to happen, with enough obsequiousness? Had the dowry been enough? It had been fixed, but you never knew. Ramdas's mother was asking Rachel the usual questions. Did she sing? Did she dance? Could she cook? Rachel could do all these things with a fair degree of proficiency, but was there a Tamil bride who couldn't? Charity's nervousness increased. Everything depended on what Ramdas's mother would do next. To everyone's surprise, she beckoned Rachel closer, made room beside her on the newly bought cane sofa, and asked quietly, "Will you be able to make my son happy, my daughter?" Consternation among the various relatives of the bride's family. Where was this woman from? Happiness? What sort of question was that? Of course everyone wanted to be happy, but the only things that really mattered were, was she fair, was she too tall, was she of the right age, did the caste and sub-caste match, did she bear sons, was the dowry handsome, did her family have the right status? A muted buzz rose in the small room. Charity alone smiled as Rachel raised her head and said, "Yes, ma'am, I'll make it." Yeah.
No, I'm Ondrila Da.
Okay.
As a publisher, you said that you can't really tell what is going to be a success. But there must have been things that you looked for which excited you. What were those, and when you write, are you keeping that at the back of your mind? Also, as a publisher, who or what are the proudest, are you the proudest to have published? Why?
Okay, the first question is, if you're not really excited by something, you're just publishing it because you think you'll make some money, which is very otherwise you can't continue to be published. Problems. I think India publishes about 100,000 books a year. America publishes, I think, 3 million or something. America basically publishes more bad books than the rest of the world put together. But of the 100,000 books in my area, I'm not talking about the kind of books that she publishes, which are a completely different genre. Textbooks are another different genre. Not more than 20 are really, really good. And people criticize Chetan Bhagat, but I say they don't know what they're talking about, because in his genre, he's fantastic.
This is true.
Just like Vikram is fantastic in his genre, or a poet is fantastic in his genre. So you have to look at, the way I look at a book is not by genre. I mean, I don't pay any attention to the critics because most of them don't know what they do, right? Because they're sitting there, they're either sort of praising their friends, or they sort of, very few good critics, or they're trashing something.
Man Ray did say all criticism is transient.
Yeah, so, you can't pay attention to critics if you're a writer or a publisher. So my only criterion is, I look at a book and say, is it 80% as good as it was meant to be, 90%? I mean, does it achieve what it set out to do? And very, very few books do. I think it was Richard Ford or someone who said, you never actually finish a novel, you just abandon it. So it depends on which point you abandon it. So coming back to my very cynical view of publishing, of the 100,000 books that are published in India this year, not more than 20 or 25 will be any good.
Okay.
But then what do you do with the other 975,000 or whatever, 97,500, whatever? You have to make them work in some way. So that's what publishers do. Polish them and hope people won't notice the imperfections, right? So it would be easy if I was truly excited by every single book I publish. But I'm faking it most of the time. Like anybody in any business, some things are truly excellent, others are okay, and some are downright bad, but you have to keep your business going. Okay? So that's the first thing. What is the second part of your question?
Or when you write, is it there?
So I think it's a really bad idea to, as a novelist,
Okay.
if you are thinking about what the reader, what will sell. Because as Mr. Barman will tell you, we don't know. Nobody knows. If we knew, we would only publish books that sold, right? We don't, because I don't know what you like. I might know what my wife likes, I might know what my colleague likes, but I don't know what more than 50 people like, but I need to sell 10,000 copies of them. So if you're a novelist, don't even bother about what the trend is, because what happens is trendsetters, the people are buying that book about dragons because it's a fantastic book about dragons. The other sort of 700 books about dragons will all fail because they're no good, right? So where non-fiction is concerned, obviously, like I said, I'm commissioning a biography of the Bengal because it will definitely work because there is no book on the Bengal. There is no book on Bengalis. The only book that was any good was Chitrata Banerjee's sort of Food and Customs of Bengal, right? And so on. So, I don't think you should spend too much time worrying about what the market wants if you're a fiction writer. Just try and write a great book of fiction.
We are really proud that and honored that David is with us, and along with him, Rupa and LF is doing such a wonderful job. And
the privilege is all mine.
Thank you.
Well, thank you everyone for this intriguing session. Mr. Davidar, it was really, really enjoyable to hear you, and Mandira for the beautiful anchoring that you did. And of course, it's very clear that you've gone through all his books in detail, and it's really lovely to have an audience so interactive. I'm sure there'll be more options for many of you to ask a question over a cup of tea later than this. In the meanwhile, I would like to call Shree Cement, who is between us, to felicitate Mr. Davidar with a scarf.
In the world, Indians account for some fantastic percentage, 20 or something, something of that sort.
No,
What is it that you said?
Oh, really? What does it mean?
Only thing I know is this is a Davidarwas writing. It was and I call it Irish writing when it comes to English. So when you break it, start English. So somebody can do it.
Well, very nice.
Shikha.
Is that a lady's name? Because I have a male colleague also called Soumya.
It's in Kolkata, it's Soumya, and people call it Som.
So both genders.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But I'm from UP, so it's Soumya, which means goddess Lakshmi.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Sudipta.
Thank you. The card will come at 7:30. So you finish it and take rest and come.
Yeah, I'm not going to change it.
And he knows where to come, sir.
Okay. So I'll be down in the lobby at 7:30.
Yeah, but the card details are in your cell phone, driver numbers and everything.
Okay. Great. Thank you.